Good day. My name is John Vincent Asaracanlao and welcome back to my channel on research and research statistics. Our topic today is about coding. Coding basically merges research and research statistics. Considering that you have done your research, you already made your instrument, what you need to do now is to encode those results in your spreadsheet, from which I'll be using Microsoft Excel. The first column, the columns represents your items. In this case, column A should be about your respondent, which can be include their name. For anonymity, just put respondent number 1. And the rows are the responses, sequential responses of respondent number 1. As you can see, there are numbers here. I will try to explain first the simpler one before to a more complicated options or responses. This is because I have said in my early videos, it is not always ordinal. Though the nature of number is ordinal, it's not always ordinal. A number can represent a response. Anyways, let's go to this simple ones. The simpler ones is this: monthly checkup. Anyways, I would like to say that these data were the same data I used in my master's in our subject research statistics. So let's go back to the data. So we have monthly checkup. So basically, what does the number 1 and number 2 say? These are what you call nominal data. In a sense, slightly ordinal. How is it slightly ordinal? Slightly ordinal, but nominal at the same time. Basically, 1 and 2 are responses. But what do they respond? What do they represent? The number 1 represents the number irregular, and number 2 regular. The nature of number is, in a sense, ordinal, and it is a constant belief that it is ordinal. So, and it is best to keep it that way, so that we have a consciousness of progressions as the responses go. So let's say that the number 1 represents the response irregular, and number 2 represents regular. We coded this as such because there is a progression from regular monthly checkup to irregular monthly checkup to regular monthly checkup. There is a progression, meaning that there is an assumption that a regular monthly checkup is higher than an irregular monthly checkup. And that consciousness is very important, because when we code, we have to have that sense of progression, of order. We don't just code unconsciously and let's say I'll put 2 for regular and irregular and 1 for regular. No, we have to have that sense of progression. So, and next is we can even code it 0 as 1. We can code it 3 as 4 or 5 or 6. Any codes actually, as long as we know that there is progression. The question is, why the numbers? Simply because a calculating device cannot count how many irregular or regular or regular for and irregular as such, but it can calculate how many ones, which is irregular, and how many twos, which are regular. But still, at the end of it all, we still have to have that progression. It is very important that we have that progression from 1, which is lesser, and 2, which is assumed to be better. Next is on these responses. So we have questions from our instrument. We have question 1, 2, 3, and 4. And from that question, we also have options. Some options can be yes or no, which we code as 0 or 1 as no, 2 as yes, because as I've said, progression, meaning yes, it's better or higher than no, and 0 is no and 1 is yes, or 1 is no and 2 is yes. In this case, we have a question that is effective, and it doesn't actually give the options of yes and no. Sometimes it gives the options of 4 options, such as strongly disagree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So, considering that the progression is there, we put 3. 3 indicates that the person, respondent number 1, has progressively indicated a response that is 3 out of 4. And as I have said, it is very important that we have to have that sense of progression, because we can always code the highest positive response with the lowest number, or the lowest positive response with the highest number. So, as the question becomes more positive and the responses becomes more positive, it is also just that we assign a value that is ordinal, or that increases in a sense. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Anyways, so that's the point. That's really the point. We cannot just assign numbers for every response. For question number 1, I'll put numbers on this response. No, you have to have that progression, and that progression of a positive response is also represented by a number that is also increasing. This is very critical, especially when you go to higher statistics, like tests of the statistics, t-test, and f-test, especially in regression. Another is this, education. You'll see that there are numbers that says 2, 3, 4, and such. But how does it represent the education of the respondent? So basically, connecting research and research statistics, when you ask questions, what is your education, the possible responses are elementary level, elementary graduate, high school level, high school graduate. It progresses. So we code them in a manner that is also progressive. We don't code elementary level as 6 and a postgraduate degree as 0. So we code elementary level as 1, elementary grade as 2, 3, 4. There has to be that progression. There are also indicators questions that we give as such as number of children. So respondent number 1 probably is based on the questionnaire is elementary level, having 3 children, married at the age of 23, goes to a regular monthly checkup, and is using this type of family method. This type of family method can be very, very nominal. The best way to arrange them is to set a landscape model from which you set that the most effective family planning method is numbered with the highest value. For example, I'm not a medical practitioner, but let's say the best family method is abstinence. So, abstinence can be ranked as the highest, which is 6, followed by contraceptive, from which there are different types of contraceptives that a woman can use or the man can use, and arrange them to a progressive form from which the most effective contraceptive is next to the highest, which is abstinence, and it goes down and goes down and goes down and goes down to the least effective contraceptives, and from which all, let's say the least possible way to plan a family is what you referred as number 1. So that's basically coding. And coding is hard work. You have to always remember that progression. And in that progression, I suggest that as early as constructing your instrument, you already have that movement from going from the least to the highest. You don't just randomly throw them away. So, yep, that's it. So I hope you will like and subscribe to this channel, and I hope this concept of coding has been useful to you. In the following videos I will be discussing basic statistical tools that are used in the research statistics. But fundamentally, we will start with coding. And the problem here is, if you get it wrong in coding, more likely everything gets wrong in your results. So thank you and good day.